Hey everybody, Stephen Nitz. Welcome back to class number 8. We are so close to the finish line here. In class number 7, we learned about the graphics templates and what those are, how to use those. We created our own end card, and then we added a little text bubble. Again, these are just kind of little tools and tips and tricks to help you develop these initial skill sets and an understanding of post-production and the post-production process. The thing we're going to be talking about today is color, adding color. So in the same way that we went to Window and we had the graphics templates, we want to go up to Window and we want to look for one called Lumetri Color. Go ahead and select it. At the same time, go back up to Window and find one that says Lumetri Scopes. Go ahead and select that. I'm going to go ahead and adjust the size of these panels just so you can see what I'm talking about. Now when it comes to color, this is a whole conversation. This is a whole class just dedicated to this, and I'm only going to touch the surface of it for the Introduction to Premiere Pro course purposes. We're not going to dive too deep because color is a job entirely on its own. Being a colorist is its own career field. There are people that specialize and have an expertise just in doing this because that's how important it is and that's how big of a task it is. For our purposes, for this class, I shot everything on this camera, an FX3, Sony FX3. I went ahead and went to Sony's website and I downloaded something called a LUT, L-U-T, and that is an acronym for Look Up Table. So every camera manufacturer, whether it's Sony or Red, Blackmagic, they create LUTs or lookup tables for their color profiles. So I went to the Sony website and I downloaded the LUTs for their line of cameras. So as long as I recorded at the right temperature and the right exposure, applying a LUT should be a pretty drag and drop way of applying color to your footage without having any real knowledge about color correction or color grading, which are two very different things. So color correction is when you're just trying to find white balance, kind of how our eyes see things naturally. Color grading is when you're actually trying to stylize something. One of my favorite examples is The Matrix. You know, when you watch that movie, there's kind of a green hue to everything. That is a grade, a creative choice that the directors and colorists made because they wanted it to feel like that old kind of green terminal that we saw Neo kind of talking about in the beginning. So that is the main difference. For today, for this, we're just talking about color corrections, making sure that we have the right color balance, make sure the exposure looks good, and then we're just going to kind of keep it moving from there. All right, so let's just run through this stuff really quick. What are we learning here? What is this telling us? We have our Lumetri Color panel. Within the Lumetri Color panel, we have where we actually apply the LUTs, the thing that we were just talking about, those files that you download. You can hit Browse, find the one you downloaded, and apply it right here. Working our way down, we have our white balance, right? This will actually impact the color. If we go really cold, you'll see the footage change cold. If we go really warm, you'll see it warm up. Same thing down here with tints. We can, have more or less green or magenta, depending on, what kind of tint that we want to have for our white balance. And saturation is pretty self-explanatory. It'll make the colors really saturated or it'll make them black and white. We'll keep on going. The next kind of section here is for light. You have exposure, which is how bright it is, how much was the iris of the camera actually open, how much was the f-stop of the camera actually open. Working our way down, you can tab Open Creative. You'll see a few more options there for, changing up the color, the saturation, giving it a specific look. You kind of have all these pre-built filters, if you will, that you can apply to your footage to see if, you can kind of create a motif that you like. Underneath that, we have curves. This is one of the areas that I probably use the most. I think most of the corrections that I need to do, I can do in this area here. All the way down here at the bottom left, that's the blacks, the darks, the shadows. All the way up here in the top right, that is the whites, the lights, the brightness of it. And you see the same thing for each one of these colors, right? So if you're looking at your footage and the shadows are too blue, you can adjust that, by dragging this one up a little bit. Or maybe your highlights have too much red. You can come over here to the top of the red and you can pull out some of, the red that are in the highlights. Working our way down, you have color wheels and match. If we tab that open, you'll notice that you have shadows, midtones, highlights. One of the most popular kind of, color grades that you see is teal and orange, right? So most of the time that'll be done right here. And what you're doing with, let's say, the teal and orange color grade is you're creating color contrast. If you look at these color wheels, teal and orange are on opposite ends of the color wheel. So when we color grade something and we make it teal and orange, we're really adding more separation between the shot. So go ahead and get in there, dig into it, play around. You're not going to break it. We are now going to apply the LUT. So if I go over here where it says Input LUT, I'm going to hit this drop-down thing. I'm going to select Browse. And I already have them here on my external hard drive with my parent folder. I have these same LUTs available for you to download in the description below, along with the other course material if you need it. Let's make this a little bigger. So we'll see here for these LUTs, we have 4 different options to choose from. I shot an S-Log3, so obviously I don't need these S-Log2 versions of it. And then up here for Rec 709, this number 709 is actually the color space that we use in TV or in broadcast. So I always put stuff to Rec 709 because that's the typical workflow that I use for stuff to end up on TV. So I'm going to go ahead and select this first one. I'm going to hit open. And now it's applied to my footage just like that. So we can see before and after. Before and after. And I didn't have to do anything. I messed with nothing here. If you look at all of this stuff, it's untouched, right? Nothing is different. The only thing I did was I applied a LUT. Now I could go one at a time, shot to shot, go here, apply a LUT, next shot, apply a LUT, next shot, apply a LUT. That'll take a while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 2-finger click or right click, and I'm going to hit copy. And now I'm going to highlight all of this stuff, all of these shots. I'm not going to get my graphics. I'm going to hold shift. I'm going to pick it back up over here. Holding shift, I'm going to click this one. So now I have all of my shots highlighted. I'm going to 2-finger click or right click. I'm going to hit paste attributes, and this dialog box is going to open up. And this is where I can customize the stuff I'm copying and pasting to the new shots. If I had to, zoom in on a shot or reframe a shot or something like that, I want to be aware of it because I don't want to copy and paste clip-specific edits. I only want to copy and paste the effect that I want to apply to everything. So I'm going to uncheck motion and uncheck opacity and uncheck time remapping because these things tend to be clip specific, right? If I do a speed ramp on one shot, I probably only want it on that one shot. If I recrop or resize a shot, I only want it on that one. So when I'm copying and pasting attributes, I want to make sure I'm only pasting the attribute I'm looking to paste. So I'm going to hit OK. All right, great. And now that same LUT has been applied to all of these shots. Now what we're going to do is go back to the beginning, and we're going to use this basic correction or curves to kind of get the result that we want. So looking at this one, a little dark on shot number 2. So I'm going to go over to basic. I'm going to tab it open. And as a beginner, if this is just my first time, getting in here and playing with color, it's totally fine to just grab exposure, bring it up a little bit. All right, so I'm okay with how this is looking. It's a little dark over here. Maybe I want to grab my shadows, and I want to bring that up a little bit, just to kind of even it out. All right, let's keep watching. I'm okay with it. Another one that's a little dark. I'm going to select it, haphazardly raise my exposure. Now what I'm looking at as I raise it is this peak right here. I don't want it to go above the top, and I don't want it to dip below the bottom. If it goes above this top line, it's overexposed, and if it dips below this bottom line, underexposed. So as I adjust things, I'm kind of watching my waveform as I do it to see how my adjustments are impacting my color overall. I also think this shot in general looks a little cold. So I can simply grab temperature and warm it up a little. That looks a little better. I think I want to lift these shadows up a little bit as well. Maybe bring this exposure up just a little more. Something like that. Let's take a look. It's better. This one also looks a little dark. I'm going to select it, adjust my exposure a little bit, just bring it up some. Not much. About there. Another one that's a little dark. And again, I already applied the LUT to everything. So what I'm doing now is just going back and doing those fine adjustments that are clip to clip, right? I shot this stuff really quick. I didn't light it. I just wanted to have this sequence ready to go for this course. So shot to shot is very different. I don't have the same lighting setup or color setup or camera setup as I went. I was haphazardly dropping my camera here, filming this, haphazardly dropping my camera here and filming this. So there are a lot of individual clip adjustments that I'm doing to this. If you're filming a scene where you have total control of all of the lighting and the frame and the exposure, there'll be far less clip adjustments, right? If everything is shot properly and everything is done in a controlled environment with controlled lighting, it should be pretty drag and drop with the LUTs. Sometimes it works out that way and it's great, and sometimes you really have to drill in and kind of do a lot of fine tuning. In the world I work in and live in, it's a lot of this. Because I do a lot of documentary film, I'm constantly running and gunning, constantly getting to the next place or person or location, and I almost never have enough time to set stuff up properly. I am 110% fixing it in post, all the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and make this one a little brighter. I'm gonna warm this one up a little bit. Lift these shadows a little. Looks good. Keep going. Same thing here, this one looks super dark. So I'm going to lift it up, lift up my shadows, maybe warm it up a hair, keep it going. Same thing, very dark, a lot of underexposed footage here. But that's all right, because now it gives you, as the student, the opportunity to fix these shots. And that'll help you hone this skill. Again, I'm just working with these basic corrections just because this is our introduction to color. There is lots of stuff that we can do. So when I'm looking here at the waveform and I see this all crunched up down here at the bottom, it's definitely representing all of how dark all this black color is. So if I want, I can try to lift it up a little. Just a hair. I'm going to type it because it's such a fine amount. 0.2, how's that do for us? It's not bad. And see how it's no longer touching down here at the bottom? That's kind of what I'm going for. I don't want stuff below 0 and I don't want stuff above 100 because then I'm going to be either over or underexposed. So I'm trying to find this nice natural look. Let's keep it moving. Another dark one. Let's lift it up. Lift up our shadows. Keep going. Lift it up, lift it up. This shot looks a little bit warm compared to the previous one, so I'm going to cool this one off just a hair. And I'm doing all of this just to taste, just really quick little adjustments. I'm not too concerned with it. I didn't light this scene. I didn't take time to shoot it properly. So I'm kind of just doing the best I can with what I have. Another dark shot, let's raise it up. Also looks very warm, let's cool it off. Down here it looks like there's still quite a bit of green, so I'm gonna go ahead and push it towards magenta a little bit. And like, I know this is a white coffee cup, or very close to white coffee cup. So one thing you could do, this little white balance eyedropper, if there's something in the shot that you know is white, you can take this eyedropper and click it. And then Premiere will automatically adjust the color to make the thing you clicked as white, white. Obviously this is not true white, so this color looks wrong, it looks really blue, but I just wanted to take this moment as an opportunity to show you what this white balance eyedropper does. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to just cool it off a hair more, and I'm going to raise up my shadows. Not bad. And I'm okay with this shot being a little on the dark side just because it helps kind of separate it a little bit. I might brighten it just a hair, but not much. Somewhere in there. Good. All right, and that's it. So that's our class for number 8 for color. We pulled up Lumetri Color, we pulled up Lumetri Scopes, we did a quick overview on what the vector scope is, on what a waveform is. We did a quick run through on the Lumetri Color panel and kind of all of the different features in there, and it is a lot. As people that are just getting into Premiere, with this being an Introduction to Premiere Pro course, we talked about LUTs, which are lookup tables, right? Those are the files that are usually provided by the camera manufacturer to help translate their log footage or their raw footage into the correct color space. So we went ahead and we applied the LUT to all of our footage. And then the last thing we did is we watched it back and we made the clip level adjustments, right? The things that we don't want to apply to the edit as a whole. Just shot specific stuff. This shot was a little dark, this shot was a little warm, this shot was a little blue, and we quickly adjusted those things to try to make the overall edit have the same exposure and kind of color space to help our audience stay engaged throughout the piece. So that's all I want you to work on. That's your homework. Work on your color, download the LUTs that I provided in my Google Drive link, apply the LUTs to the footage, go through here using these basic corrections and adjust that stuff to kind of get it closer to the exposure that we want and the color that we want for this piece. If you want to give it a different style, you want to put a different LUT on there, you want to open up the creative thing and find a look for it and just experiment all together, I love it. Go for it. That's how I learned most of the stuff that I know about Premiere, was simply clicking on it to see what it does. And if it's something I liked, I would remember it. If it's something I didn't like, I would probably drop it. But you're not going to hurt it. You're not going to break it. You can always undo something. You can always go back to one of your previous auto saves and kind of save your work. Our next class will be our last class, and it's going to be all about exporting, because much like color, exporting is completely its own thing. There are so many options and settings and specs and things that we can talk about when it comes to actually exporting your edit, and that'll be what we cover in the next class. Hope to see you there.